Welcome back!
Welcome. You're here with Berenice.
And I'm Ella Tudor, and this is Thanks for Your Concern.
Woo! All right, we are back, and today we're going to be talking about breakups.
And we have a special guest on the podcast today. I'm super excited to talk about her nasty breakups so she can expose her exes and everything, too. And so we have Greta on the podcast. Greta, how are you feeling?
Hi, guys. I'm feeling good. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
She's acting like she's shy right now, but she isn't. Give her a minute to warm up.
I'm a little nervous. No.
Should we do a check-in? How was everyone's Thanksgiving?
It was wonderful. My sister... Well, I'm not going to say my sister and I made pozole because really it was like mostly her and I was like avoiding all responsibilities. But like I feel like I was part of it and it was cool. We followed our grandma's recipe, so whitewash Mexican who. And it was actually really good. So I'm proud.
That's so exciting. I had Thanksgiving with my boyfriend and my roommate, and it was definitely different because usually my family has these huge, ginormous 30-40 people Thanksgivings, and then it was kind of weird, but to be completely honest, it was like kind of nice because I didn't have to deal with that any awkward small talk where they ask me what I'm doing with my life and I'm like, I have no idea. I got a degree thinking this would help, but it hasn't.
We're in a pandemic, Grandma. I don't know what you think this is. No one's doing anything.
Yeah, I feel like it was nice to not have to like talk to your distant relatives that you like only really see at Thanksgiving. Like I honestly cooked a bunch of food. It was just like me and my grandparents, and then I slept for like 14 hours straight. I was like, this is
ideal.
Great. Like,
yeah. Iconic. We love that.
Honestly, yeah, that's what days off are for. And I think you get more days off during Thanksgiving than you do for Christmas, technically. So Thanksgiving's kind of a better deal.
True.
Yeah, so this is my last day of like vacay, so I'm really excited to spend it with y'all and talk about breakups. Yay, my favorite.
Yay.
All right, let's do it.
Let's get into
Let's
it.
start the show. So have you guys noticed that for some reason in the month of November, people like either like break up or get together? Like there's something about the season that changes that just like makes you believe that you can be either a better person by your fucking self or you need a bae for the winter.
I blame Hallmark, right? Because you watch all these Hallmark films and you're thinking, I want this cute relationship. Or you watch them and you're like, oh my God, my significant other is a piece of shit. I need to cut them from my life. Like they are not doing anything.
Or like right before the holidays and they're like, fuck, I don't want to like get them a gift or something like that. Honestly, guys be hard to shop for. That could be, I don't know.
I'm not spending any more money or time on this person. Bye.
I'm spending money on myself. Like
I know it's like it gets cold, so you might just want like a cuddle buddy.
That's true, cuffing season.
Yeah. I broke up with my current boyfriend, who was my ex-boyfriend a year ago during the month of November. But I actually broke up with him because of podcast. I'm not gonna lie. I used to listen to Girls Gotta Eat, and they're wise women. They were talking a lot about relationships and people that maybe you outgrow or that you put a lot of people first before your own needs. And that's something that I hadn't really thought about because I had never been in a relationship before. And the more I heard about like their experiences with past boyfriends, I was like, oh shit, like I do a lot of this behavior. And I also realized that I had attachment issues. So I really thought, 2020 is gonna be my year. I'm gonna move to New York. Things are gonna be amazing. Here I am still in fucking Seattle, Washington, back with my ex-boyfriend. But at the time, I did think that I was gonna move on and I was gonna really focus on myself. So I broke up with him. I was a heart-cold Killa. I said, thanks so much for the past 2.5 years, but like I gotta worry about myself.
I feel like though sometimes like, obviously you guys are back together now, but sometimes you do just like need that period of time for yourself. Then you can come back and like be a better couple, I guess. But it's like so important to take that time for yourself and kind of see like, is this person gonna support me in my goals? Like, are they gonna support me in like this life that I want? So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to like take that time for yourself.
Yeah, I actually really stand breakups now. Whenever
Yeah,
girls
same.
are like, I'm gonna break up with him, I'm like, yes, girl,
I
do
feel
it.
like when I broke up with like my last boyfriend, like, I just had this huge spiritual awakening. Literally, like, within a week, I got the job that I have now that's, like, that I'm moving for, and, like, my Instagram was popping, like, all my friends, like, my relationships with my friends got better. I was like, wait, like, everything's falling into place. I just literally had to drop this guy, and that was
Change
my,
of
like,
energy,
block.
man.
Like, literally. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool.
From sad girl to hot girl, rebrand.
Literally, like, I had a huge rebrand. I don't know. I stand breakups too, honestly. I feel like if you have that idea, like, oh, I want to break up with someone, like, the sooner you do it, the better. Like,
I agree. I feel like for me, I usually am the person, well, who fucking knows, but I break up with people, like, a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I snip people.
Yeah.
Because for me, I just feel like dating is, like, so taxing on my person that, like, I just don't want to make it harder than it has to be. I remember this one guy, I broke up with him purely just because I was like, our lives just do not align in a way that is going to make sense. Like, he was like, I'm ready to get married and have kids. And I was like, that's disgusting. You are 25 years old. You need to slow the fuck down. Also, we've been dating for 2 weeks. I don't know why the fuck you're bringing this up right now. And he was a nice guy. Like, no bad blood. Like, sometimes he gets drunk and hits me up still. But, you know.
That's beautiful.
It was, they always come back. Let me just say that.
Oh my God.
But it was just one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, our lives just don't align. And sometimes I feel like I see girls who, they don't want to break up with a guy because he's, like, a nice guy. Or he's a good guy. And it's like, that doesn't mean you can't break up with him. Just because he doesn't fucking hit you doesn't mean that he's like a good guy. And he just might not align with your life, and that doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you or that you failed at a relationship. It just doesn't work out.
I think it can also definitely be scary to break up with someone when you know you have someone who genuinely, like, loves you and there's nothing, like, inherently that wrong with the relationship, because it's kind of like a leap of faith. Once you let somebody go, you have no idea if that person's either going to wait for you, come back, or whatever. It's difficult overall to break up with someone, to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah, a lot of times with breakups too, and like I've seen this with so many of my friends, and like I've done this too. You're so much more in love with like the person who you want them to be, not the person who they are.
Oof.
Like that is such a harsh truth that like I was like, wow, like I look back on my relationships and I was like, I was really only like in love with kind of like their potential, not like
the idea.
And they were like, people will always show you who they truly are, right? Like I so believe that. So if someone isn't who you want them to be, then like someone else will. It just might not be in like the timeline that you want. So.
I feel like the best advice that I got from Girls Gotta Eat is that we literally imagine people in their head, and like that's why like I do this thing where I think like I'm just a planner, so I think like fucking 10 steps ahead. So like by the 2 weeks of dating someone, I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have kids, yada,
this is
yada,
what our
yada.
apartment looks like.
Da, 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 da. And then I had this situation where this guy was telling me things, but his like what he was telling me and his actions just were not fucking aligning.
Ugly.
And I just had to like think about this, and I was like, okay, we need to be objective. Like, what is he actually doing and saying versus what you fucking like, what have you been clinging on to because in one fucking conversation he said something that like really got you. Like, I just feel like sometimes a guy would be like, yeah, you're hella cool, like I just really see a future with us, and then I'm like, oh, he wants marriage, perfect, that's what I want. And it's like, no, that's not what he said, bitch. Like, you're fucking crazy. And the technique they said is like, you have to stop when you're like imagining things, bring yourself back to reality by literally like saying things out loud that you see. And I think that's helped my relationship now be a lot more successful because I'm just less crazy because I'm
from one crazy bitch to another. I used to see Ella fucking meet a dude, and then like he lived in fucking Boise, and she started looking at properties in Boise, and I'm like, bitch, come the fuck down. You've known him for 2 days. Like,
yeah, no, I'm really bad about that because I just don't want to invest in someone where I don't see a future. So I'm like, do I want to live in Boise? Like, is this actually something that I want? And then I'm like, no, he doesn't want me to move to Boise.
No,
he hasn't asked me. He's made it pretty clear that like he really likes me, but this is a bad timing because he's moving to Boise, right? And then I'm like, oh fuck, okay, yeah. And then I get really hurt when I get like ghosted or broken up with. I get so hurt because I'm like, we were gonna get married, and then they're like, no bitch, you're fucking
like the
not.
wedding is called off now.
Literally.
Like, what?
I actually figured that out, and it has to do with my attachment style
No,
too.
same.
I have a super insecure attachment.
I'm like anxious attachment all the way.
Yeah. If you don't know what attachment styles are, it's something to definitely look into because like my insecure attachment style of being anxious, like when guys said like you're kind of crazy, it's because I would fucking like be like, so what are we? What are we doing? What are we doing here? Do you like me? How much do you like me? And I would just get so anxious about it because, to be honest, I've been burned before, man.
Yeah, you're telling me, like...
I got some major trust issues, okay?
Yeah, I feel like it's such a balance between, like, writing it out and, like, you know, what's meant to be is meant to be, but then it's also, like, okay, like, you do kind of want to know, like, what are we, especially if you've been talking for, you know, like, a few months or whatever. It's kind of like, okay, like, so when do I bring it up? Like, because you don't want to be, like, leading yourself on and, like, having these expectations, but it's also, like, okay, you also don't want to define it too soon. I don't know. It's so hard.
I think you have to strike a balance with communication.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just feel like open communication. I swear to God, I feel like I've broken up with people because I was like, I'm never going to get anything out of you. Like, there's just no, like, you're never going to give me enough.
I feel like a lot of breakups, too, like, that's kind of why, like, people break up with people. It's just because it's, like, you're not communicating properly, like, your communication styles aren't lining up. Like, people, I feel like a lot of times, like, myself included, like, I feel like I'm like, oh, like, how come they didn't know that about me? But then it's like, you know, like, I can't expect people to, like, like, read my mind. Like, I can't, and, like, vice versa, like, you know, whoever I'm in a relationship with next, like, I can't, you know, they have to tell me, like, what they want from me, and, like, I have to really set boundaries and, like, be clear about what I want too. So I feel like that's something that I'm like, okay, like, good thing to keep in mind for next time I'm dating someone. Like,
getting back together with my ex, we did a lot of talking and work on our relationship, and one of the things was that I was really scared to share that, like, sexually, like, I just kind of, like, was open to, like, the idea of, like, hooking up with other people and, like, maybe just being more adventurous, because when you date for somebody for so long, like, honestly, it's pretty natural for you to want something else, like, in that department. And whenever I would bring up situations that, like, around it, he would kind of, like, shut them down. So every time I felt like, oh, he's not gonna be down for this, and I wasn't able to necessarily, like, communicate my needs and wants. And after we broke up and we were talking about this, he was like, well, I wish you would have set something, because, like, I would have been down for, like, a conversation. I would have been down to explore these things with you to try to make it work. And I think for me, it was like, but it's also an issue, the fact that, like, I was scared to bring this up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's hard to sometimes communicate with even people that you've been around for so long, because you always think that they already have these expectations and notions of the person that who you are. So I was really scared the more time that we spent apart, because he was still doing college well after I graduated. The time that we spent apart, I was going to become somebody different that he didn't necessarily like.
You know, I feel like there's, like, an openness within yourself that I've gained through therapy that has made me more successful in, like, communicating, like, literally my traumas and, like, hey, so, like, the reason why I'm like this is because of this. I'm working on it. Being able to even communicate that to somebody has been, like, life-changing, huge, because if you have context on why I'm doing a certain thing, it makes a lot of sense. It's like, she's super anxious because this is what happened in her childhood, and this is how things that have happened in past relationships. And before, I would just internalize it and, like, keep it to myself and, like, not, like, be like, oh, I don't want to tell them, like, I have super bad anxiety because I don't want them to think I'm fucking crazy. Or I don't want to tell them that, like, I'm not always happy, hunky-dory because I have depression. And keeping those things to yourself just didn't help with anything. So even just communicating, like, why I am the way that I am has made it so much easier for me to date people, because they're like, oh yeah, totally, like, that's super understandable, that makes sense, or, like, I can work with that, versus me just being like, he's fucking up, I'm fucking up, oh my god. Like,
I think, like, honestly, everyone, like, if you're able to, can totally benefit from therapy. Like, there's literally not a single person who can't. And, like, I think an issue that I ran into in, like, my last serious relationship was, like, my ex-boyfriend was kind of, like, felt like he was above therapy almost, and was like, oh, look, I don't need it. And then I'm like, yeah, but you cheated on me because you can't get over, like, your ex who cheated on you in high school. And I'm like, that was several years ago. Maybe if you went to therapy, like, you'd figure your shit out.
We literally talked about this in the last episode.
It's because this
like,
happens so much, and, like, I don't know why. I mean, this might just be because of, like, toxic masculinity. Like, boys really don't feel like they need therapy, or, like, oh no, like, I don't need therapy. And I'm like, bitch, I think everyone needs therapy, but you specifically, I know
Really
you need therapy because you're doing things that are super destructive and you're doing a pattern of behavior that doesn't benefit you in the long run. Like, what is your goal? Is your goal to just fucking create carnage in your life and then have multiple girls be fucking mad at you? Now you have 3 fucking girls that are pissed at you because you can't communicate about
resolve
your
your own
feelings,
traumas.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like talking to this guy right now, and we've brought up like, you know, like me going to therapy, and like he's like gone to therapy, and I'm like, wow, like he's so self-aware, like that's sexy,
It's
like
so
that's
attractive.
hot. I was like, damn, okay, like a man, not a boy, a man. Like
I think that people have this weird notion of therapy, but like I'm telling you, there's a difference in men that I've dated that have gone to therapy and men that haven't.
Working
and
through
I think
their-
that's just in general. People who have gone through therapy, way more self-aware, way
my
more
God,
just
yeah.
like with
That
it.
emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
just
that emotional
through the
intelligence.
roof.
Like I've had to
Yeah.
break up with guys because I'm just like, oh, you have like
not
not like,
there.
oh, you have a lot of issues. Like, no, you have a lot of issues that you're unwilling to recognize and deal with. So like, I don't even want to be a part of this.
Like, that's the thing. Everyone has issues. Everyone has their hardships. It's literally, like, how you handle them and, like, how you're reacting to them that I think is kind of, like, shows your character.
I think a way that I have advocated for therapy to other people is by saying, like, I think therapy would really benefit you and all of the relationships that you have. Because how you feel about yourself and the issues that you have is often how you treat other people and how you affect them. And sometimes you might have friends who ditch you and you have no idea why. It's like, well, bitch, you should probably go to therapy and learn your approach to others and things about yourself and how this is affecting your relationships. So are you guys down like for long distance in relationships?
No.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, short term, like 3 days is fine or whatever. But
3 days,
people have
you
to go on
know,
business
a
trips, I get
weekend.
it. But no, I'm not. I'm just being dead ass serious. I feel like long distance would not work for me as a person. Like, just me. I'm not gonna say they never fucking work because clearly they do. But for me, physical intimacy is like probably one of the most important parts of a relationship for me. So not having that, I would just be like,
What's the point?
What's the point?
I have been in a long distance relationship. Like, I went into college in one, which I like 10 out of 10 do not recommend. Like, broke that off real quick. But like, I think now I'm in a place where, you know, kind of wanting to focus on myself. The guy I'm talking to, like, isn't in Washington anymore, but like, I'm obviously not going to be in Washington for that much longer anymore
Let's move
too.
to LA.
Yeah. Exciting. But I'm kind of like, you know, it is kind of nice to like have the time and space for myself, and also like a relationship isn't really like my top priority right now. So I'm kind of like, oh, it is kind of nice to like, you know, be talking to someone and like have my own space. I think for like long distance, like if it's someone who you like really want it to work, you'll make it work no matter what. If you're like, this person like is so worth it to me, like you'll make it work. But if they're not worth it to you, then you won't make it work.
I think I'm like just kind of a hoe. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you're not gonna be like fucking me, then
Yeah.
I, like it's just
That's hard.
I have needs and expectations, and maybe like if you're down for an open relationship, long distance, maybe that's something that can work out. But that almost feels a little like disingenuous with me, because it's like in my day to day, I have this whole other fucking life that I obviously I'm not gonna tell you I fucked like this dude on this morning, or I woke up in this random house in this morning, because that's not a good look. I definitely do not like long distance.
I feel like if I was like just a rich ass bitch and like could fly out to see them like every week or whatever, then I'm like, that'd be fine. But that's all obviously not the case. Like
right now. Maybe one day, but-
maybe in like 10 years, I don't know. But
They can be that bitch. You can fly out to me every
yeah,
other
true.
weekend.
Yeah,
LOL.
true.
Then I can worry about myself every day in between that.
I have one breakup that I think in retrospect is so funny. Like, obviously hindsight's 20/20, but this guy had the audacity when we first started dating to just be like, oh yeah, like I see us like only hooking up and having fun, but like I don't see this as being serious. Which for me, totally cool. If you're open about it, that's totally cool. But then syllabus week rolled around and I was like, well, if I'm not in a relationship with this dude, like I want to be able to hoe out. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I definitely don't want to have no regrets. This is my senior fucking year. This is my last fucking syllabus week. So the week before syllabus week at Stubby Tuesdays, which is where you get 3 drinks and 1 fucking glass for $5.
Rest in peace, Stubby.
R.I.P. Stubbies. I kind of broke up with him, but we didn't need to break up because we weren't together. And he got like really, really upset. And I was like, why the fuck is this dude so upset? He's the one that told me he wanted to keep this casual. Because he actually fully broke down. I'm not going to lie. He fully broke down in stubbies. It was really uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God. He later told me that night he was going to ask me to be his girlfriend. And I was like, you fucked up. You should have been more communicative.
Should have put a ring on it.
Like, and then he was just kind of so embarrassed. And I was like, I basically at the time was like, you're just saying that because you want me back. Like, I'm not playing this game with you. Like, you had plenty of time to bring this up and you never did. So I think you're being disingenuous. He might have been being serious. I'm not sure. But
you know, what that reminds me of Love Island. I fucking love that show because they're literally like,
they're so savage.
Key, you were going to ask me to be your girlfriend, but like, just so you know, this new guy came in and I'm gonna talk to them, okay?
You know, until we're together, like then we're not together.
Yeah, no, you have to like be so clear about, you know, like, are we official or not? Like, if you don't make it official, then I'm gonna be like, okay,
then we're
like,
not together. Like, what the fuck you expect? You can't have your cake and eat it too with me.
True.
Like, you do not get my loyalty for free. Like, get out of here.
So my savage breakup story, in high school, so I broke up with my high school boyfriend on Valentine's Day, like at a sushi restaurant. I was crying at dinner. It was not good, but to be honest, it worked out the best way it could have. Like, we're like still friends today. Like, we're kind of like family friends, and it was a very like, I don't know, I cried in my car, and then like we went to his house and ate the fudge that he made me for Valentine's Day, and like it was kind of awkward. I was like, oh my God, like
did you know you were gonna break up with him before?
Like, I had been thinking about it for like 2 weeks because like we dated for like 2 years.
Ooh,
it's a long time.
But like he's like, it was like the type of thing where I was like, we are like such good friends, and like I just didn't want to ruin that. And like I had always known, like dating him, I was like, I'm gonna break up with him before I go to college. And so this is like junior year, and I was like,
you're the best of the pack right now, but wait until
I was like,
off.
Okay, we'll try like going to high school with literally 400 people. There's like literally 2 hot guys, and it's like there's no concept of girl code because there's literally 2 hot guys. So it's like it's like, all right, like your turn, like kind of savage, but like I don't know.
The messiest breakup is with someone that you live with.
Yeah. Disgusting.
That's why I learned that the fucking hard way, to be completely honest, and never gonna do it again. And all my friends think I'm being really harsh when I'm like, do not move in with your boyfriend. But some of my friends who've had to do these messy breakups with someone they live with, they're like, oh, I wish I would have listened to you. And I was like, girl, the only reason I know is because I had to do it, and it was horrendous. It felt like a fucking divorce because it's literally like we were splitting assets. It was disgusting.
I have a homie who's like going through a breakup, and they were living together, and he's like, well, she broke up with me, but I'm just gonna leave her all the shit. And I'm like, that sounds like you're getting fucking played, man.
Yeah.
She decided to end the relationship. I think you have a right to keep most of the shit, or at least like, yeah, it's fucking messy because you gotta split it. You gotta fucking break your lease, or you have to find another fucking place to live and just pay out the other lease. I think you should always have a secret apartment.
Yeah, I'm like I've never lived with like a boyfriend or anything, and like I'm so protective over my space. Like even if I'm spending like 5 out of 7 nights at like your place, like I still like I have so much fucking clothes, like all my shit. I'm like, there is no way, like even if I was dating someone for like 2 years, like I think it's gonna take me a while to like move in with someone, just because I'm like, I love my space. Like,
and people get really resentful. Like in breakups, your shit's not safe.
Yeah.
You don't know that person's gonna react badly to you breaking up with them and burn all your Gucci.
And I know.
Yeah, that's, oh my God.
I also just feel like people get so petty, and it's like, I've heard of breakups where people are like charging each other for like half of the eggs and only taking half of the eggs from the grocery. Hey, I'm gonna grab the ketchup. Do you want the barbecue sauce? Like, people get super petty, and it's just like, I personally, this is my philosophy, and a lot of my friends always feel like, well, you know, it's different with me and my boyfriend. I'm like, okay, cool, sure it is. I always say that I really feel like people should not live with each other until they think like, this is going to be marriage, this is going to be a forever thing.
Yeah.
If you have like lukewarm feelings about the future with somebody, just keep your own fucking space. I know in Seattle it's hard because people fucking live together because it's so fucking expensive.
So expensive.
But it's so messy having to like buy out a lease so that you guys can fucking break up. That sucks.
And then if you don't have fucking money to move out, you're still sleeping in the same bed with your ex after you told them you don't want to be together anymore. Which I know people who are like,
I know,
live with their exes because they're too broke to move out. Which
they're just like
shade
waiting
to being too broke. The bad part is, girl, you should have probably planned the situation better before dumping him.
Oh my god. I think, like, honestly, one of my biggest flexes is that I've never been broken up with. I've always broken up with these boys. But one time, my, like, last boyfriend, like, very early on in our relationship, like, broke up with me or whatever. But I was like, bitch, no, you're not. Like, I was like, because I was crazy. And I was like, actually, we're still together. I'll see you tomorrow. Like, but, like, I should have just let him break up with me then. I think I would have saved, like, 2 years of, like, some heartache. So that would have been cool. But, you know, lesson learned.
I've only been in one serious relationship, and I did the breaking up, but I don't think it was that bad. I had a lot of like fake relationships. That's like when you're not in a relationship, but you're like hooking up with them and seeing them often. Yeah. And I'm really bad at like letting people go. So like with conversations, and they tended to be manipulative people. So the only way that I could break up with them is to ghost them. To never speak to them again.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of those. And whenever they would be like, okay, like, I just don't understand why we can't be cool. And I'm like, you don't get it. I'm a psycho bitch. And, like, I get worked up in my head and I overanalyze every single thing that you tell me or do. So in my mind, you're still in love with me. And I'm, like, willing to fight for this relationship that's not a relationship. So, like, I just need to, like, never see you again.
You know, I have a really bad habit of just getting drunk and, like, not remembering that sober Ella is like, no, we don't talk to this man anymore. We don't even, like, recognize his existence. Yeah. But then drunk me is like, hi, what's up? How you been?
Definitely. Oh my god.
Like, especially if the sex was like, I'm like, okay, like
you gonna come over later?
Hey. Yeah, literally, like, oh god, I'm so bad at that. I'm obviously not anymore, but it's so hard when you're in the same bar as your ex and you're like, I mean, we didn't end on terrible terms. Like, you only, like, kind of cheated on me. Like, there wasn't penetration, so it doesn't count. Like, you know?
Oh, my God. Yeah. I've definitely, like, hooked up with, like, an ex before. Even, like, an ex, like, hookup. And it just hasn't been, I don't know, hasn't been the right decision. I've, like, been like, okay, glad we tried, but, like, maybe not.
It's not going back. I've never like had it work out. You know what I'm saying? Clearly.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, Berenice, your situation's a little bit different, but I'm like, I feel like my exes don't like actually care about me that much, or if they do, they're like really good at hiding it. Like,
you know what? I have the weirdest people hit me up, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot you existed. Like, it's on Snapchat. Like, they'll respond to my Snap and say, like, oh, like it looks like you're doing good. Like, miss you. And I was like, bitch, what the fuck?
I guess I forgot to, like, delete you. Like, whoops.
Oh, I did. Okay, I'll stir the pot. So, this guy that did me so fucking dirty, mind you, on Instagram, he follows 20,000 people. He follows 20,000 people on Instagram. He had the audacity to unfollow me on Instagram. I was like, you followed 20,000 people? Like, you don't want to see what the fuck I have to say? I was hurt.
You know, sometimes I've heard that boys jack off to your Instagram pictures.
Oh my god,
so he could have accidentally unfollowed you and then realized it and then followed you again.
No, he didn't follow me again. He doesn't follow me.
Fuck, okay, maybe that doesn't work.
I unfollowed him back, though, so I got him.
Guys, something so embarrassing, like, so... Speaking of exes and social media, so, like, a couple weeks ago, I just tweeted this, like, random-ass thing. I was like, oh, like, whatever, like, it's kind of funny. Like, I tweeted about how I was like, oh, ew, like, I used to date, like, a 24-year-old who lived in a frat. Like, I don't know that girl anymore. And, like, my tweets usually don't get that many likes. Like, I really didn't think that, like, anybody would see it. But this motherfucker retweeted my tweet. I literally thought that he was blocked, and I was like, bro, it's about you. But not only that, like, his current girlfriend and his sister liked it. And I was like, bro, like, I'm mortified.
That's so embarrassing for him. Like, why would he do that?
I was just like, I literally thought you were blocked. Like, I was shocked. It was also, like, Friday the 13th, so I'm like, maybe that had something to do with it, but I don't know.
Well, you'll have enough mutual friends because I commented on that and I was like, Adam.
Yeah, literally. I was like, damn, like, one of his friends definitely saw this, but I was just like, oh.
I mean, it's true.
Call him out. You should have also said you cheated on me, you're disgusting, and I literally hope you get eaten by bees.
Bees.
Murder
hornets.
That's so crazy because I remember when you broke up with him.
Oh my God, I came to you guys crying.
Yeah.
It was like the first football game, like at our school.
I wasn't even in Pullman anymore. Like
I
we had gone
was.
to the game.
Or was it?
I literally
fucking
remember like running up to you guys, like tears streaming down my eyes. Like I literally was wearing sunglasses at night because I was crying.
And I was like, what happened? And I'm glad you moved on. You're doing much better.
I feel like breakups can really like just trigger glow ups in yourself, and that's
or hoe phases, whatever, however you want to fucking react.
We are gonna have a part 2 of breakups, and we're gonna talk about the hoe phase and the glow phase and the that girl phase and everything that comes after our breakup, so stay tuned for that. But that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you, Greta, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being
had
open.
fun.
Yeah.
Plugs of the week. So my plug of the week is going to be from our listener Gabe. Gabe gave us a really cool graphic designer, and they also have their own like merch store that is really cool, and their handle on Instagram is at 1starcarry. That's 1 star and then CARI. We're gonna link that, but thank you, Gabe, for this plug of the week.
Yeah, check out his stuff. My plug of the week is ANUH. She is an illustrator. She does digital drawings, and she also sells polaroids. You can find her on Instagram at La Casa de ANUH Costume Drawings. If you want something for your social media, or maybe you're building a brand or a website, she would be an amazing person to hit up for some illustrations. Thank you, Greta.
My plug of the week is this book I've been reading, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's kind of like a spiritual awakening, like self-discovery book, and just kind of talks about like you only really have now, like, so don't worry about like past, future, and just really goes deep into that. So it's been like a really good book for me to read right now.
Love that. Thank you so much for that plug of the week.
Maybe you can let me borrow that later. I'm ready for my spiritual awakening.
Those were the plugs of the week.
Sick. Okay. Please subscribe to our podcast. It would mean a lot to us if you would also rate our podcast. And if you want to be a homie, follow us on Instagram.
It's going to be thanks the number 4 your concern, and our personal Instagrams. Mine is at Ella L Tutor,
at Berenice DSM,
and at Greta Gamble.
All of those links will be in the bio. Have a good one. Come back next week. Bye.
Bye.